Freddy Fazbear's Pizza? Explain its significance, Bulma. A cool pizza place, you say, Bulma. A sanctuary of predictable contentment, where the unexpected horrors of the galaxy conveniently vanish? I find that unlikely.
Hey, are you okay? You look a little freaked out.
Huh? Oh, yeah, I was just checking the monitor, that's all.
Picture it. It's the year 19XX. You're chilling at your desk at work, weary from all the overnight shifts, wishing they'd invent the Nintendo DS for you to waste your time on, and a noise scares the crap out of you. Freddy! You're supposed to be on lockdown! You call, but instead of something about being a material girl, you get rammed face first into the mouth of a mechanical monster. I mean, we've all been there. You take a crummy job for some summertime cash, and your friend gets to work at Blockbuster getting first dibs on all the finest VHS drops, and you're left fighting for your life against Charles Entertainment Cheese and his gang of angry McDonald's dropouts. Kind of harder to think of a more relatable concept. In all seriousness, my knowledge of Fnaf lore is similar to my knowledge of Sonic lore, being that both are mostly accidental cultural osmosis. Freddy and friends are animatronics haunted by the spirits of vengeful children, and they've got beef with Josh Hutcherson, and my name is David. Dad, that is my name. David, I want some ice cream. David, that is my name. David. Now I'm told that the movie lore is a lot different from the game lore, so I won't be relying on that, but yeah, I did see the movie. I'm still without a good PC, again, leave recs below, so we'll be using the Xbox version of Fnaf, taken from Five Nights at Freddy's core collection. This collection includes FNAF 1 through 4, as well as Sister Location, which at first I thought was DLC rather than its own game. For the sake of this video, we'll be looking at the original Five Nights at Freddy's. Just seeing the thumbnails for these games during download already made me uneasy. A friend told me these games were mostly jump scares, and I absolutely hate jump scares, so I was kind of dreading this. But surely I could get through one shift, right? Warning! This game contains flashing lights, loud noises, and lots of jump scares. Oh no. Oh no, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. This was going to be rough. 3 of my least favorite things rolled up into one sketchy ball. The start screen reminded me of old school Flash games, the ones your friend might link you in third period. The fuzzy scan lines ran up and down over the screen as I looked at Freddy, changing in flashes, an occasional metal face appearing. A booming, somber soundtrack played. It was going to be a long night. I looked at the clock hanging on my wall. It was just before midnight. Day 1. Mirroring in the game, it was midnight of day 1. A quick ad for a security guard flashes on screen with a notice about not being responsible for injury, which was nice and normal and reassuring. Unceremoniously, I was dumped into an office. Unable to move, my vision swiveled back and forth, the range of action limited to opening and closing doors, turning on and off lights, and checking the cams. Nervous, anxious, telephone ringing in my ear, I began trying out everything I could do. The phone answers and a mysterious man tells me that I'm his replacement and there's nothing to worry about.
Hello? Hello? I wanted to record a message for you to help you get settled in on your first night. I actually worked in that office before you. I'm finishing up my last week now, as a matter of fact, so I know it can be a bit overwhelming, but I'm here to tell you there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah, sometimes the animatronics move around on their own and might try to cram you into a suit, but it's really no big deal. There's also something about the bite of 87 and a reminder to check the cams and conserve power. With that, I'm left alone, or so I thought. I began a cycle of checking the cameras, turning the lights on and off. I knew what I was looking for, but I was also unsure. How much did they move? How fast did they move? How much time would I have before Chica started sprinting down the hallway with the expressed intent to end my life? It wasn't until about 3 a.m. that the first movement happened. Bonnie had stepped away from his post, the silly rabbit. Tortured by the idea of that thing standing in my doorway, my pace quickened as I checked the cams and flicked the lights. It was hard for me to find him on the map. At one point I swore I saw him on cam 2B, so I flicked the light at the door expecting him and saw nothing. And then I swore I saw him on cam 5, but Chica was already gone, and I swore I saw her on cam 1B, and oh god, Bonnie is now menacing me directly at the door. Standing there, he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I closed the door. This began my cycle of opening and closing the door, waiting to see when he would just leave, but he didn't seem interested in leaving at all. I think he liked torturing me as my power level dropped and dropped. There was no way forward. Bonnie was going to starve me out. Or he was until the clock rolled over to 6 a.m. I was saved by the bell.
Well, if you're hearing this and you made it to day 2, congrats.
As soon as day 1 ended, day 2 began. Why anyone would come back to this job is beyond me, but I guess Mr. Security is really hard up for cash. The voice on the telephone was quick to congratulate me for coming back and warned me that our cast of characters becomes more active during the week. With more warnings about checking Pirate's Cove and something about Freddy coming off stage in the dark, the voice clicked off, leaving me with my new friends. It wasn't long before Chica was at my door, menacing me, followed shortly by Bonnie, the two keeping me in an energy-draining pincer. As I tried to manage the two of them, my power drained slower and slower, but 5 a.m. was close. The clock rolled over, hit 5 a.m., and nothing happened. See, I had misremembered when the day ended. I thought it ended at 5 a.m., so I was expecting to be done. But I was still here. In the single digits, it wasn't long before my power ran out, and I was alone in the dark. Well, not alone, it was seconds before Freddy was on me.
Oh, fuck. Oh, my God.
Anyway, I'm sure you have everything under control. Talk to you soon.
Giving it a second go, I fell into a loop of checking the show stage and Pirate Cove cams, then checking the lights on each side, and back to the cams. The show stage let me know when Bonnie and Chica left their starting point, though I kept checking in on it for Freddy. I'd only seen Freddy move when I ran out of power, so I wasn't sure if keeping an eye on him with the cam was keeping him at the show stage, or if he only ever moved during game over. Either way, I wanted to know the moment the guy moved an inch. Sometimes he would rotate looking at the camera, but nothing beyond that. I was warned to keep an eye on Pirate Cove by the telephone man, so it just seemed like the thing to do. I figured using the cams to follow the animatronics around was kind of pointless, as they'd end up at my door anyway. And that second run was smoother. Chica never even bothered coming by, which saved me power as I dealt with Bonnie. I also realized the cams would kinda seem to go dark when Bonnie left the door, cluing me in on when it was safe to raise it. Later I would find this unreliable, but for the moment it worked. Overall, my greatest enemy so far was my power supply. Again, I made it to 5 a.m., though with a bit more power than my previous run, and I was able to get to 6 a.m. The clock rolled over, and I was free, beating night 2. Because I had misremembered the ending time though, I was nervous. Would night 3 end at 7 a.m.? I could barely scrape by to 6 a.m. And what if Freddy started moving when the power was on? Could I handle 3 animatronics at once?
Hello. Hey, you're doing great. Most people don't last this long.
Dropping into night 3, the telephone man congratulated me for coming back to a hostile work environment, and suggested playing dead if caught, which makes me wonder how much I could be getting paid to do this. I started off with my loop, noticing that while Chica was on the move ASAP and came to visit me in person at 2 a.m. and at 4 a.m., Bonnie was a real lazy boy today, not moving until 3 a.m. The night wasn't super eventful until 4 a.m. when I got a peek at why the telephone man warned me about Pirate Cove. An open maw instead of shining eyes appeared between the curtain's crack. Menacing as everything is, I did my best to keep an eye on my new friend. The clock rolled over into 6 a.m., freeing me, and I was pretty happy. The night had gone on with no issue.
Oh, hey, wow, day 4. I knew you could do it. Hey, listen, I may not be around to send you a message tomorrow. It's been a bad night here for me.
My victory over night 3, frankly, had me cocky. As I listened to the telephone man perhaps die, I felt weirdly confident. Why am I bothering with the cams? I said, foolishly unknowing and being a fool. I can just look at the doors, I continued foolishly. You see, I believed my new smiling friend, Foxy, was just something that happened on night 3, teasing the new animatronic to menace me. After being bum-rushed by the little freak twice, I quickly realized that what I thought of Freddy was true of Foxy. My eyes kept getting glued. Speaking of Freddy, Mr. Fazbear had also decided to grace us with his movement, finally, although he never came to my office. A 4 a.m. visit from Bonnie felt standard, as did the 5 a.m. Chico visit. In the end, my lack of power took me out deep into 5 a.m., leaving me sure I'd only been seconds away from winning.
I hate it here. I want to come home. Everybody's so mean, and there's this one guy who follows me around.
Hey, do me a favor. Maybe sometime you could check inside those suits in the back room. I'm gonna try to hold out until someone checks. Maybe it won't be so bad.
My second run was smoother. I kept on the cams, locking both Freddy and Foxy in place, for the most part. Foxy ended up getting a bit beyond the curtain near the end, but, it is what it is. Chica and Bonnie stayed away into the later half of the night, though it was enough to wear my power down. Once again, deep into 5 a.m., I found myself with single-digit power and Bonnie at my door. I opened the door to see if he'd left, only he hadn't, and only now I couldn't close the door. Panicked, I pulled up my cams just to get killed by Bonnie.
Yeah, I always wondered what was in all those empty heads back there. Oh no.
My winning run was even more refined, if not boring. Check cam, check lights, repeat. I cut out Pirate Cove, as checking any cam seemed to keep Foxy at bay, and keeping my cam on Freddy kept him locked in place, leaving me only having to deal with Bonnie and Chica. When 6 a.m. rolled around, I was grateful, if only because the action loop felt tedious, but I dreaded messing up. I earned an achievement for never letting Foxy leave his curtain, which was funny. Incoherent grumbles played on the phone as I continued my loop. I kept Freddy and Foxy frozen, and my power depletion seemed to coincide with the hours as predicted, leaving me expecting to eke out the win. That is, until Bonnie showed up and jammed the door. In a quick move, I closed the other door in case Chica pins her, but I made the mistake of pulling up my cams to keep the other two frozen. I guess my lack of attention prompted Bonnie to kill me. Kinda funny that even though I have the frenzied sprinting Foxy and ominous Freddy, Bonnie remains my greatest op. My winning run was more of the same, my loops seeming like the optimal way to play. Check Freddy cam, check lights, over and over, shut Bonnie out, repeat. When 6 a.m. hit on the final day, I was relieved. I collected my check, an achievement for never letting Freddy get near the office on day 5, and skipped my way on out of Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. A cool little star appeared on the menu to celebrate my victory, and so did night 6.
O cholera, czy to Freddy Fazbear? Oh, 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 oh.
I was really mad when I saw this, honestly. I think post-game content is super cool, and it can really make or break a game. The Pokemon Emerald Battle Tower, for instance, is one of the reasons people recall it so fondly. And while the logical part of me appreciates this game for also having post-game content, the part of me that actually has to play it was a lot less than thrilled. Starting my usual loop, I went in with my Freddy cam, lights, repeat, motion. It was all going according to plan until the drift on my controller kicked in, moving my view to different cams. This was enough of a gap for Freddy to escape the show stage, and I knew it was already Jover, so I just decided to reset.
Guys? Is this Freddy Fazbear? Har, 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 har.
My second attempt went as perfect as I could do. Hit the right cycle of cam and lights, blocked both Bonnie and Chica as they came, sometimes at the same time, and played to my maximum. Sadly, my best wasn't enough as my power drained to 0 at 5 a.m. Panicked, defeated, rueful, I waited in the dark for Freddy himself to come and flay me, revenge for seeing him trapped at the show stage. The jingle played and I felt him about to envelop me when a miracle happened. The clock appeared and 5 a.m. became 6 a.m. I had lost, but I had won. I received another paycheck, another achievement, another star on the menu for a victory I probably didn't deserve, and it felt amazing. A new option appeared on the menu after my stunning victory, Custom Night. For the sake of it, and at the request of a friend, I set every AI to 20, the highest level, and gave it a go.
Be advised, enemies have deployed Freddy Fazbear into the AO, and he's feeling a bit quirky tonight.
I realized almost instantly my cheese strat wouldn't work as Freddy sprinted out of the show stage from the get-go. As I wrestled with the cams in a frenzy trying to find him or anyone, I was quickly jumped by Bonnie, as is tradition. While it felt a little lame for my Fnaf 1 journey to end this way, I probably had it coming. Now that I've earned my checks, let's shift gears and talk about the actual mechanics that make up Five Nights at Freddy's. The gameplay loop of checking the cams, flicking lights, and closing doors is one that's simple in concept but can very quickly get overwhelming. Since the player is locked in place, the cams are essential for keeping track of not only where the animatronics are, but altering and delaying their attacks. Foxy's action cycle, for instance, is completely dependent on cam usage, and can be completely delayed with proper management. This also seems to apply to Freddy, though my experience on Custom Night negates this, so it could just be dependent on Freddy's AI level. That being said, because of the ability to halt both Foxy and Freddy during nights 3 through 6, it's completely possible to form a gameplay loop where the only external variables are Bonnie and Chica. Bonnie and Chica don't really require looking at the cams, instead being able to be managed by a frequent check of the lights. This creates a rather cheesy strat, one that I used to carry me through the second half of the game. And while I did manage to just barely beat day 6, I'm sure going at a slightly slower pace than mine would likely lead to beating the level without complete power loss. At one point I considered turning on a metronome to slightly slow my nervous pace, but it ended up working out. Maybe I should put a metronome on for these videos. I'm sure there are other ways to make the gameplay easier, ones I just didn't figure out. In a way, my strat kept me from discovering the game on a more intended level. I'm sure the animatronics visit rooms in an order, or are more likely to go here than there, but because my camera was always on Freddy or Foxy, I never learned this. Even the noises they made never really registered with me, since my loop was so quick, it didn't matter if I heard footprints, or banging, or circus music. Just check cam, flick lights, repeat. And while I got to see the Bonnie jump scare multiple times, and the out of power Freddy one, I never saw the normal Freddy, Chica, or Foxy one. I stuck with the first strat that worked, and in my drive to finish the game, I had deprived myself of really experiencing it. That being said, Custom Night was seemingly designed to remedy players who might have fallen into a similar trap as me. A chance to tweak the AI in a sandbox mode allows for perfect discovery. Only interested in figuring out how Chica works? Set everyone else to 0 and watch as she moves from cam to cam. Want Freddy to live up to his reputation? Set him to 20. Want to just take in the scenery? Set everyone to 0 and enjoy looking at your desk. I've said before that I wasn't thrilled about doing post-game content for Fnaf, and I don't think I'll ever be the type of person to play Custom Night beyond initial assessment. But its inclusion is paramount in my opinion. The only counter thought to this is that it would be cool if you could access Custom Night at any point to experiment while working through the main 5 nights, perhaps with the AI scaling locked to how far you've progressed. But the game is so short, it's really fine as is. I'll also mention here that the game does have cheats you can turn on from the menu: unlimited power, map radar, faster nights. I didn't use any of these, though I'll admit fast nights really tempted me. And it's nice that these are included for playtesting ideas or less skilled gamers who just want the fun of getting through the game. So that's the gameplay loop and how it played out for me, but games aren't just mechanics. You know, they've got story. As I mentioned earlier, I did see the Fnaf movie when it came out, though I'll be honest, I don't remember much, and much of what I remember doesn't really seem relevant to the game. There's no sheriff, no little sister, just a security guard and a dream of survival. The phone calls dotting each day are a neat narrative device to add a touch of depth. You're not just a security guard, you're a new hire at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which has a high turnover rate, with most people leaving after 2 days. You're given a reason for your relationship with your antagonizers. You're here to watch the property and the animatronics, who must be allowed to wander around at night to keep their servos from locking up. The animatronics attack you not out of malice, but because they mistake you as one of their own, breaking the rules by not having a suit on. There's also a historical drop in the bite of 87 to make the world feel more lived in. Much like how a coworker might mention something in passing, we're never really told explicitly what happened, but it's implied that one of the animatronics bit someone's head in a way to either severely damage or remove the frontal lobe. And in a similar fate, our only guide is stolen from us by day 4, no doubt killed by the animatronics. The nonsensical garbling of the day 5 call further cements the loss of an advisor, as limited as it was. This creates an interesting parallel, as there's nothing separating us from the fate of the man who held the job before us. Other things can be garnered by playing. The dining room has tables filled with party hats, indicating a closing prep for the next day. This implies the pizzeria is active in its booking. There are posters on the wall with Freddy promoting him as a lovable mascot and someone children want to see. There are extra exoskeletons and costumes in the back, meaning the characters are popular enough to replace when maintenance is needed. The fact that they're allowed to still roam at night after the bite of 87 shows their value. They have to be kept in working order, even if they're stationary during the day. The wallpaper looks dingy in my opinion, but that could be due to the cheap cameras. So while there's no large, overarching story outright presented in the game, there's enough little pieces to keep the player engaged, and enough to make everything feel cohesive enough to not be dismissive, but still strange enough to be kind of outlandish. And this type of narrative raises simple questions that leave large spaces. Why would anyone go back to work here? Why wouldn't this place be reported? Why? Why? Did anyone find the previous guard? These large spaces work for Fnaf, driving intrigue and speculation. No answer is as fun as the work to uncover it. Fnaf has progressed far beyond this game, so I wouldn't be surprised if these questions have already been answered. But I also have no doubt that new installments have raised future questions left unanswered to fill the void. These unanswered questions are part of what builds the game's unique atmosphere, and that atmosphere is heavily dependent on the aesthetics. The base style, Chuck E. Cheese meets Blair Witch, is not my favorite. I'm not a huge fan of wholesome thing for children is actually spooky and evil, but I think Fnaf does it well and probably helps cement that style of horror in the modern landscape, though no doubt taking influence from creepypasta and things of that nature. Fnaf plays out a lot like a creepypasta, with the ominous bite of 87, the crummy night job, murderous animatronics. It's kind of what I imagine a green text video game would be. The dark and gritty textures help disguise what might have been lacking visuals on an unknown indie game, and I wonder if future titles kept with this or were more clean. A 3D Mario-like Fnaf may go hard, if it doesn't already exist. Beyond the visuals, the audio is another key component to the horror experience of Fnaf. Music-wise, there's not a lot to talk about. The main track that plays on the title screen of the Xbox version is too obnoxious in my opinion. The constant sweeping makes it difficult to think when it's playing, to the point where I would just mute the TV when the screen was up. Funny enough, this is the only original track in the game per the wiki, though it's only in the ports. The rest of the music is mostly ambiance, which, makes sense, and the only music I could remember from the top of my head was the carousel music and Freddy's jingle. I actually really like that all the music from the original release is stock. It goes to show people don't mind canned assets if your concept is good and they're used well. So, having played through it myself, how would I rate the original Five Nights at Freddy's? While I understand its massive cultural impact and its importance as a foundation for the series, judging it purely on my experience playing it today, I would give it a 5 out of 10. The gameplay loop, while initially tense, can get stale quickly as the only change between each level is the difficulty of the AI. There are no new mechanics that appear, everything you can do on night 1 is what you can do on night 7. It felt rewarding to say I beat overtime, but getting stomped by Custom Night kind of killed that, though granted that was my own fault. I like that Custom Night allows for experimentation, but that experimentation is limited to AI expression. The game is interesting as a foundation of what feels like an empire at this point, but based on the hours I spent with just the first game, it feels like nothing truly exceptional beyond that foundation. I'm glad I got to see it through, but I won't be picking this game up again. I'm not sure if I should go on to play the second Fnaf. Let me know in the comments if it improves on the original. And as always, thanks for watching, and remember, check your cams.